how can you make a smooth, tiny, but delicious transition or even modulation right in the middle of your hymn or primary song? That's what we're going to talk about today in Dr. Doug's Daily Tips for Writing Great LDS Church Music. Today we're looking at hymn 110, Cast Thy Burden Upon the Lord. And it's a wonderful hymn. I wish we sang more. There are a lot of actually really beautiful things about this hymn, but we're going to look at this middle section, right where that fermata happens, starting at the fermata. So we're in the key of E flat major, 3 flats, and on the E flat, we have this full cadence in E flat. We're definitely, we stop on E flat. But then, I think this is Mendelssohn, right? Yes, Felix Mendelssohn, the great romantic composer, German romantic composer, has more to say. Thy mercy, Lord, is great, and far above the heavens, let none be made ashamed that wait upon thee. So to start off the second half, he slips into minor, and it's lovely. I love minor stuff, especially in church. We don't have very much of it in our church, so it's always fun to hear some. And then, thy mercy, Lord, is great. Okay, that's a cadence in C minor. We get this C minor, and it feels like we've landed, like we've arrived in C minor. And then he goes on and does some other things. But is this an actual modulation? That's a very good question. We get into modulation a lot deeper in the Latter-day Musiversity harmony workshops. In this case, this is not what we would call a full modulation. It's technically what we would call a tonicization, which is basically a brief move to a new key. But since it doesn't stay in the new key for a while and cadence over and over again in the new key, it's not actually a full modulation because it goes right back to E flat major pretty quickly. But we do have a little temporary moment of arrival in C minor, which is what we call tonicization. And we know that it arrives because we have a cadence, like musical punctuation. We feel the ending. We've arrived at C minor. Okay, so how did he get to C minor from E flat major? Well, if you're going to arrive in a new key, you've got to at some point introduce the accidentals of that key. But the fun of this is the accidentals of the key of C minor are the same as the accidentals of the key of E flat major. So it's actually quite easy to slip from E flat major to C minor because, like I said, they're relative keys. They share the same key signature. All we have to do is make the chords that we use as we approach C minor sound like a cadence. So what we do is we look right before the C minor chord, that's the cadence chord, to see what chord it is. And that chord is F minor. So we have 2 F minor chords going to a C minor chord. And that's a very popular cadence. In C minor, the chord F minor is the 4 chord. So we have 4, 4, 1. 4 to 1 is what we call a plagal cadence. These happen all the time. They're often in major where we hear the amen. Amen. But you could have minor. Amen. Or you could have fully minor. Minor to minor. In this case, it's minor to minor. It's F minor, C minor. So it's a minor plagal cadence. But since he highlights the C minor, and by highlights I mean he uses some musical way to draw our attention to C minor. And in this case, all he does is hold it. Just the fact that he holds it for most of the measure makes it feel as though we've arrived there. And we arrived there in a normal cadency kind of way with the 4 chord of C minor. So it feels like a cadence in C minor. Okay? So that's how you quickly go from the major to the relative minor. You use chords right before the relative minor that fit in the key of the relative minor and that make a satisfying cadence in the key of the relative minor. In this particular case, we got the minor 4 to minor 1 kind of a cadence, the minor plagal, but you could do a 5-1 in C minor. That would require a G major chord instead. Anyway, it gets a little bit complicated, and like I said, we talk in much more detail, and we write lots of these in many of the harmony workshops here in the Latter-day Musiversity. But that is your composer gem for today, to give this a try. If you're in the middle of a primary song or a hymn and you find yourself at a cadence on a 1 chord, but you know your song's not over, maybe the next phrase needs to slip to the relative minor, the minor key that shares the same key signature. And to do so, you make a cadence in that new key by using chords that fit that new key. And then you've successfully arrived. All right? Give it a try. I think you'll have a lot of fun doing so. And hope you enjoyed this daily tip. Tomorrow, we will get back into the primary songs. If you'd like some more free tips, head over to latterdaymusiversity.com, where you can get my free report, The 10 Commandments of Writing Spirit-Drenched, Warm, Fuzzy Testimony Music. In other words, really good LDS church music. All right, we'll see you soon. Take care.